This is my audience. That's Tucker, Weston's dog Murray, that's Weston, and then that's Brennan. Today I'm going to be talking about gun control, and surprisingly, guns are among the most loosely controlled products on the market. And by this I mean is that we haven't been able to completely control where all these guns are going, who gets these guns, basically because it's just distributed in many different ways. And I mean even in the black market, and that's in the underground distribution. Even though that's happening, we also do have these rules and laws that are enacted. For example, you have the license to carry. The license to carry is a course that you take that teaches you how to handle a handgun, when to use a handgun, and how to assess a situation where you may or may not have to use a handgun. You take that so that you can appropriately use or have a weapon on your person while you're in public in a safe manner. Not only this, but you also have to do paperwork whenever you're purchasing a weapon of any sort. That could be a rifle, that's bolt action, a shotgun, an AR-15, a handgun, you name it. There are also some weapons that are illegal to have though, and that includes machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, and explosive weapons. There are some things that there are some exceptions, but it all requires paperwork and it's just a kind of a complicated process. And besides this, guns are dangerous, but to completely take them away, I don't think it really would help anything. And I've found in research that it doesn't help anything. It actually makes things worse in the criminal count. And so this is to say that some people think that gun control should be stricter. Other people think that gun control should not be any stricter than it is already. And I'm going to talk about what those people say whenever they're saying that it shouldn't be any stricter, and what they say when it should be stricter, and then I'm going to talk about why I believe that gun control shouldn't be any stricter. So the first off is that guns are on the streets, it's only going to ask for more violence. And the problem with that is that violence is going to happen no matter what. No matter where you're at, criminal acts are going to happen, whether it has to do with a gun, or with a knife, or with people just simply getting in a fist fight. And then secondly, children get a hold of weapons. I can actually personally relate to this because I have had family friends come over to my house. We have a lot of guns in my house, and they have a bunch of little kids. And so one of their 5-year-olds actually, she was kind of wandering around the house, and I heard a thud in the background while I was talking to one of our friends, and I went back to my room, my closet, and I found that she had somehow managed to climb up in my closet and reach over my rack and grab one of my guns and fall back on herself with an AR-15 in her hands. And that is extremely scary, and my heart sunk when that happened. Thank goodness it wasn't loaded or anything, because you're just not supposed to do that. But people, no matter what, should lock things up, which I do lock my guns up now for that reason specifically. So people just need to be, they need to be responsible with where they put their weapons so that children don't get a hold of them. And then lastly, guns should be used only for mass shootings is the third reason that I found that gun control shouldn't be any more stricter by Connor Jackson. And mass shootings, they happen, they're school shootings, but I mean, we can't, like I said earlier, we can't control when these things are gonna happen. And I mean, they are gonna happen, so it would really help if we had some, maybe if somebody was carrying, they could probably defer that situation by having a weapon on them. And now that moves me on to why people think that gun control should not be any stricter. The first is that having a gun is having an immediate source of self-defense on you. People can take classes on how to fight and how to defend themselves, but sometimes there are situations where a gun is required to save yourself from getting hurt or maybe even killed. You never know, or keep somebody else from getting killed. And so high-risk situations you can't control when they happen, and being able to have a gun on you can help you in those situations. Secondly, people like to hunt a lot and to have some kind of sporting event with guns. For example, people like go elk hunting, whitetail hunting, turkey hunting, anything like that requires a weapon. And then secondly, people also like to shoot long range, and that's becoming actually a really popular sport. It's even in the Olympics now, people are shooting guns. And so this is to say that weapons are kind of starting to be used not only for hunting, but also in the uprise for sporting events. And then lastly, they said that there are already rules that prevent things from happening, and stipulations that prevent things from happening, or from getting guns into people's wrong hands. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is there's all kinds of paperwork that you have to go through. There's just all these different little requirements in order to purchase a weapon, no matter what kind of weapon it is. And so this is all to say that maybe these things could be changed or tweaked a little bit, but there are rules and stipulations there to keep the public safe from harm and weapons. And I mean, we can't control whenever people do get hurt and when it don't. It just happens. Criminal things happen, like I said earlier. And so on to my reasons why I think gun control should not be any stricter than it already is. First off, it's for hunting and sport. I love to hunt. I hunt all over the place. I hunt here in Texas. I have hunted in Oklahoma. I have a hunt coming up in Colorado. And I just like to hunt all over the place. And it's just something my favorite thing to do. And then for sport, I'd like one day to be able to shoot up to 1,000 meters. That's kind of becoming a big goal for a lot of people that are familiar with shooting rifles. Secondly, this is a quote from procon.com. I found it really interesting. Gun control laws don't deter crime, but gun ownership deters crime. This is to say that even though we make all these rules and laws, it's not the cause of keeping crime down. In fact, as if we have been allowing more and more people to have weapons, the amount of crime has actually gone down. And researchers told me that they don't know exactly why that is yet, but they're asking people why they think that is, and they've been just trying to find a reason as to why crime goes down instead of up whenever people have weapons. And then finally, I've had some personal experiences where a gun would probably most definitely be necessary. First off, one of my buddies named Angel, he was actually just filling up with gas at the gas station one night, and a guy came up to him, and the guy was telling him, "Hey, give me your stuff, give me this and that. It doesn't have to be a bad situation or anything. Just let me have these things." And Angel resisted, and when Angel resisted, it turns out there was a brawl. And in that brawl, Angel actually got stabbed in the leg 2 times. The guy took all the stuff out of his truck and then got away. And I thank goodness the worker at the store called 911 and they got paramedics there in time for Angel not to bleed out in time. But if Angel would have had a gun on him, if he so wished or desired, then he would have been able to defend himself and not get stabbed in the leg and almost die. And that's to say, if we take guns away, he can't have a gun and he can't defend himself from that knife. And then secondly, there was one of my buddies. He was at Taco Bell probably at 9 or 10 or so, and he went back out to his truck. And when he went back out to his truck, this guy was out there, and kind of the same situation. He tells him, "Hey, give me your things, give me your keys." And Quentin, just because he didn't have anything to defend himself with, he got his truck stolen from him and all his belongings that were inside his truck, which were iPads. He had an iPad, he had an iPod, and his phone was actually still in there, and just all kinds of stuff that were in there. And had he had a gun, if he were able to, since gun control laws aren't as strict as they could be, he would have been able to prevent all that stuff from happening if he had one, if he so desired. And so, I'll say that guns are dangerous, but whenever the right people have them in their hands and they've been taught how to use them, they can use those guns in order to keep themselves safe. And so I think guns are necessary because we can't prevent crime. You can't prevent crime, but you can prevent people from getting hurt more. So if they have a better self-defense. And so people think that gun control should be stricter, and I can relate to some of those reasons why. But I think that the reasons that people do think that gun control shouldn't be any stricter, I think those they beat the other reasons, because guns are necessary, not in daily life, out in hunting and sports, and then for hobby, just stuff like that. Guns are necessary. They keep us safe. And they can prevent people from losing their lives, and they can prevent people from getting hurt. Thanks. I'll get every letter real quick.